Hey, what's up people? How are you doing? Hope everything is fine. I say hello from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. As you know, the US Championship just started yesterday with a lot of big stars, with a lot of big fishes like Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana, Wesley So, and young superstars like Jeffrey Shion, for example. And I welcome you to the game of the day of the first round of this important tournament. And the game we're going to take a look is the game that happened between Wesley So, superstar, is just behind Carlsen, very close, and Shabalov, another great grandmaster. It's a very short game, but also I think it's very instructive. So I hope you guys enjoy it as I did by analyzing it. So let's just cut the trash and start analyzing the game. So Wesley So decides to start with c4, the English opening, as you all know. c6 was played by Shabalov, clearly showing his intentions to enter in the Slav variation. Now white has several options. You could also even try to transpose to Caro-Kann type positions by playing e4, for example, here. So this is the pawn of variation against the Caro-Kann, right? But Wesley So plays in his style and decides to play knight f3. And after d5, we are already in the Slav defense, one of the most solid approaches by black against d4 or c4 openings. And here Wesley So plays e3, pretty natural move, just aiming to defend the c4 pawn, the Carlitos pawn, and in the future wants to develop this bishop via e2 or d3 in order to go short castling, right? Black plays knight f6 here and d4. And here at this point, black has several options. The first one is playing, for example, bishop f5 here, right? And knight c3, e6, and at this point, e6, sorry. At this point, white has several options. For example, knight h4 is one of the most common move here. And also there is one solid approach by playing bishop d3 here in this position. But you have many different possibilities, right? And also the move e6 as well. It's pretty common, and Shabalov decides to go for bishop g4, already pinning this knight on f3. And Wesley So plays h3, asking this bishop, where do you want to go? You want to retreat to h5, to f5, or to c8? No, that's a sad move. And here most of the people played bishop h5, but instead Shabalov plays bishop f5. But the thing is, it's probably going to transpose to the lines where black plays bishop h5, right? I will tell you why. So knight c3 was played, and now e6 was the move by Shabalov, and now g4 was played, bishop g6, and this is why we are transposes to the lines where black plays bishop h5, because you are going to play anyway g4 and knight e5. Of course, white's idea is just to win the bishop pair, just to capture this bishop on g6 and try to create some sort of advantage, claiming that the bishop pair is better. But one question arises before. So one could ask why black cannot stop this g4 knight e5 idea by playing, for example, knight bd7, right? And again, and later play e6 and develop bishop via e7 or g6, and this way you stop this knight e5. Well, the thing is, you try to play knight bd7 straight away, you can play queen b3 here in this position. It's pretty annoying, because normally black tries to react against this queen b3 by playing queen b6. Of course, b7 now is stuck, so black normally in these types of positions normally goes queen b6. And the thing is, now after queen b6, a takes b6, you can actually take on d5. And black would love to have this pawn on e6 to recapture with this pawn on d5. And the thing is, after c takes d5, bishop b5 is actually pretty annoying. You see this thing here, you feel so bad here. You have a headache, you have a stomachache here. Now knight e5 is coming, and you're gonna suffer in order to remove this pinning from this diagonal. And of course, if you take with the knight, this is not ideal, because you're giving the center for white. Imagine if white manages to play e4 in the future, it would be extremely happy, right? Alright, so that's why normally black plays e6 first, and now g4, bishop g6, knight e5, and knight bd7 by black. Actually cannot stop knight takes g6. Of course, now white's idea is just to take on g6, and we reach this position where, as I told you, white has managed to win the bishop pair, but the thing is, maybe it's a bit weak. White's king side is a bit weak, right? Because maybe it's overexpanded, and of course, black's position is extremely solid. You see this pawn structure on d5, e6, and c6 is actually quite solid. So it's never easy to create some advantage here. So g5 was played by Wesley. So of course we are still in theory and just trying to explain the ideas behind the theoretical moves. And at this point, black plays knight g8. For some of you who are starting with chess, you could say, Pepe, what are you talking about? Just top. Why knight g8? This is nonsense. Well, the thing is, if you go to some more natural square like h5, the knight is kind of stuck here. You cannot jump to any squares. And by going to g8, well, the thing is, you want to go to e7 and to f5, because now this square is weak, as you see, because white played g5, so now f5 is a really tasty square for this beautiful corcel, right? Let's say here, for example, in h5, the knight is not well placed. After h4, queen c7, bishop d2, for example, bishop e7, you have several plans. You could go rook c1, you could go queen f3 in order to go long castle, and the thing is, later you're gonna play bishop e2, and at some point black can never go short castle because this knight can be actually in some sort of troubles here. The other idea for black is after g5 you can go knight e4, and this actually was played in an elite game by two super strong Spanish grandmasters, Paco Vallejo and Niño Anton, where Vallejo played knight e4, after knight takes e4, d takes e4, h4, Paco played queen a5, bishop d2, bishop b4, and after a3 they reached this endgame, bishop d2, takes, give me your queens, baby, king takes d2, and this endgame, maybe it's a bit better for white, but this is extremely solid as well for black. So this is another option. Instead, after g5, Shabalov decided to go for knight g8, and now, of course, the g5 pawn is defended, right? So you have to protect it, and this is what Wesley did in this game by playing h4 here. Knight e7 was played by Shabalov, aiming to go to f5 and then attack the h4 pawn, right? At this point, Wesley decided to play bishop d2, a normal development move, and knight f5. Of course, now one should do something about this pawn on h4. One option is to go h5. That actually threatens nothing because the rook on h5, on h4, on h1, sorry, it's unprotected. But instead, Wesley decided to go for queen g4. A pretty natural and logical move, because you defend the h4 pawn and then you want to go long castle, because this king is going to be safer in this part of the board than in this side, right? And this is an important moment because at this point, Shabalov played maybe a dubious novelty that was never played before. According to my database, it can happen that my database is not well updated, right? So, but according to my database, it's a novelty. So, sorry guys, I'm drinking tea. This is so good in the morning. So, at this point, there were 3 or 4 top games where actually, for example, So played this position with black before against Meyer, the German grandmaster, and he decided to go for bishop e7 at this point, where white played rook h3, and after rook h5, they reached this position where maybe white is a bit better, so that's why maybe Wesley So was happy to repeat this, but this time with white's color. So one idea is just to go long castle here, and Shabalov played a6 here. What's the reason for playing this a6? Well, the idea for black is he wants to take on c4 at some point and then playing c5. What happens? Well, at this point it's actually not a good idea, because white can just play d5, and if the pawn is not on a6, now knight e5 is actually not possible because of bishop b5, boom, and black is in a lot of trouble. So that's why a6 was played. The idea is just to take on c4 and to strike in the center with c5. But we could ask ourselves, well, this is actually a good idea with the king on the center still, and with not all the pieces developed. Well, this is what we could ask ourselves. Wesley So played long castle, aiming to start some sort of attack against black's king that is still on the center. And one thing, guys, it's gonna be extremely hard for black to castle in the short side. Why? Because whenever you go bishop e7 and short castle, then h5 is just a huge boom, right? Because you open the h5 and then you're gonna give checkmate, right? So it's never easy for black to find a safe place for his king. In this line, he played d takes c4, bishop takes c4, and c5. And this actually smells quite fishy because this king is still on the center, right? This king, the white king instead is just going to b1. It's going to be extremely uncomfortable, and then you're going to find some open files for the rook. So yes, I find this position very hard to play with black. Wesley saw played d takes c5. Now, of course, d5 is not possible. It is, but I mean, after knight e5, this was actually black's idea. So after queen e4, let's say takes, and for example b5, and after queen e2, you can play queen b6, and black somehow can hold this position, can try to go long castle here, and has a nice majority on the queen side, right? So after c5, Wesley, with a good criteria, he took on c5, opening the d file for this rook, just looking with beautiful eyes to this queen on d8, right? And then Shabalov decided to take with the bishop. With the knight was interesting as well. Knight takes e5, king b1, rook c8, and bishop e2, for example. And I find this position much easier to play with white. The only reason is that the black actually cannot go. Black's king cannot go to a safe place, right? As I told you, go short castling is actually like committing suicide, right? So instead he decided to take with bishop takes c5, which is also very natural, because maybe in the future you want to go short castle, not this time, because as I told you, it's going to be extremely hard for black. So and now black wants to go knight e5. This is his threat, just aiming to gain back the bishop pair. So that's why, in a prophylactic way, Wesley saw he plays here bishop e2. Just now, knight e5 is not so strong. You can just centralize your queen by playing queen e4, targeting the b7 pawn, etc., and the e5 knight, and bishop e7. No, you cannot go short castle here, right, because of h5, as I told you before, and bishop e7 was played here, and pretty calm move by Wesley. So just king b1 is a really natural move in these types of positions, right, and queen b6. Black maybe wants to go long castle and king b8, and maybe could hold this position, right? But from this point, Wesley So doesn't forgive black's player and starts a nice maneuver in order to put things pretty hard for black here, and plays knight a4. The thing is actually black hasn't got any proper squares. So, I mean, you have to go probably to c7, and it will happen in the game, because if you go to a7, you can just play e4 here, really strong move, and after knight d4, the natural move, you can play bishop e3 with this annoying pin. And one could think, Pepe, what's going on? I mean, I can just play e5 and nothing happens with this position. Stop talking rubbish and go to Spain and do some things in your life instead of showing chess games and with nonsense. Well, if you play a5, there are several options. The first one is just to go h5, but the second one is a pretty positional approach, just by playing knight c3, looking for the d5 square. Actually, white is, I think, is much better here. So after knight a4, queen c7 was played, and Wesley So starts hunting this queen by playing rook c1 and asking this queen where he wants to go. At this point, it was really tough moment for black here, because the only reasonable option was the not natural move queen d8. Just going queen b6 and then queen c7 and then queen d8. What are you talking about? I mean, 3 times moving the queen and then just to go home again. This is pretty hard to play in a psychological way, right? Because you think you're just doing stupid things with your queen just to go back to the same place where you started the game. So, but queen d8 was necessary, and the thing is, you are threatening to go knight a5 here, and after queen e4, you can play knight d6, queen g2. It's very hard for black here, but this was the best approach for black. Instead, he went queen d6, and now a really an amazing move by Wesley So, a really beautiful move, bishop a5 here. Just putting a lot of pressure in this diagonal, and then the rook is going to come to d1, and then basically black hasn't got many squares, only the e5 square, and one of the white's ideas is as well to go bishop c7, and this queen is almost trapped, right? Actually is trapped. So black cannot go short castle because of rook hd1 or h5, so this is a really tough moment for Alexander Shabalov, and he plays knight a5, attacking the queen here on g4, queen e4, centralizing the queen, attacking the b7 pawn. Things are gonna be so hard for black here. Knight c6 was played. Maybe black had to try queen d5, but this endgame is just so sad for black here. After takes, and bishop c7, for example, knight d7, bishop a3, and tell me who's gonna defend this pawn on d5. It's just impossible. So once you win this pawn on d5, this bishop is gonna beat God. It's gonna be the Kobe Bryant of chess. So queen e4 was played, knight c6, and another natural move, rook hd1. Looks like Wesley So is playing so easily, right? Just natural moves, but beating a 26 grandmaster, right? So and at this point, position was already very difficult. So if you play queen e5, you can just take here and play bishop c7. And after knight c6, rook, knight b6, putting this rook on the sad square, rook a7, and at this point, boom, bishop b8, winning the game on the spot, because you cannot take on b8 because of rook c8, checkmate with tomato, and black has to resign, right? So after rook hd1, Shabalov played rook h4, attacking the queen as well, and now Facundo, as usual, solving all the problems, solving all your health and mental problems, plays f4, just also removing the e5 square for black here, and now there's only one square for this queen, and this is the sad square b8, right? So this is what black had to play here, and knight b6, putting a lot of troubles to black, because you take on a5, you can just play queen a4 check. The thing is, black can never go to f8 because of knight d7, a fork, just winning the queen. And after knight c6, you can just stay, boom, rook takes c6, give me, king f8 and knight d7, just winning the queen again. So that's why after knight b6, knight d6 was played, attacking the queen, and now queen a4, with the same idea of going rook c6. At this point, rook a7 was played, and with the idea of later go rook d7 to defend there, but just bishop a3, pretty calm move, aiming to take here, and black actually can't do anything. So knight b5 was played. There are many winning moves here, but just the humble queen c2, just attacking the c6 knight, aiming to recapture with the queen on c6. Black can never take on a5, right, because there is always checkmate there. And Shabalov played queen c7, and after rook c7, black has to resign, right? Because you can just take this, just completely lost for black. Yes, you can take on c6, you can do whatever you want. So another brilliant game by Wesley So. I think this is the 57th game unbeaten. So can you imagine this? 57th games playing against top elite players in the world, not a single lose. So I mean, I cannot even play one game without losing, man. So this guy is just 14 points behind Carlsen, something like this, just threatening the crown of the Norwegian world champion. So Wesley So is actually one guy to consider for the future world matches. Yeah, so we have big pairings today. Who's playing today? I think Nakamura is playing Caruana, right, Tibis? Yeah, so Nakamura is playing Caruana with white. So we have big games today in Chess 24. Just remember, you can follow all the action in our site. You can also follow. I hope you have been enjoying the 72 hours Punt Blitz with Jan and Luke Van Veli and Mr. Lorenzo Trent. So yes, this has been all. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis, and I hope you guys have a great day. This has been all. Bye bye. Be good and take care. Bye bye.